Hey guys, Chris Clothier here with another video from Total Turnkey, powered by REI Nation. Thank you so much for joining me. Today's topic is all about cash flow and how we calculate it and what it means today as a passive versus active investor. Because we're in a strange market right now, and I get a lot of questions from investors, whether they are existing clients of ours building out a portfolio, or they are a referral from a client wanting to get started, or even an independent investor that finds us online or through Bigger Pockets or some other resource, and they want to know, hey, how do I get started? And tell me a little bit about today's market. Like, what market are we in? One of the confusing things about cash flow is that there's all types of spreadsheets, and some are super complicated out there to calculate cash flow. But let me tell you the very simple way to calculate cash flow. You simply take how much money am I getting in this month and how much money am I spending. The difference, what's left, that is your cash flow. Now, we can make this as investors really, really complicated by putting in a bunch of different numbers that may or may not happen. We can put a lot of things in there for the expecteds or the unexpecteds. Here's the bottom line. You as an investor get to choose what to do with your cash flow, and you get to choose what to do with your investment. So if you have a nest egg for that rainy day, no big deal fund, as I call it, cool, you're good. If you want to use the cash flow and build that, no problem. If you want to use your cash flow to reduce principal and pay your property off faster, have at it. That's what cash flow is. Cash flow is what's left over each month. It may not always be the same. It can vary from month to month, but it shouldn't vary a lot, right? So it's how much did I bring in? How much do I spend? What's left over? This is my cash flow. Now, single family real estate has not always been the cash flow type of investment. Often, multifamily was used for cash flow. Single family was traditionally an investment meant as a store of wealth, as a way to be able to get my money into the market, 20 to 25% down. I borrow anywhere from 75 to 80% from the bank. I pay an interest rate back to the bank for that money. That interest rate is paid for by my renter. I own the asset that goes up in value, gets paid down by the resident that's in there. That was traditional single family real estate. Now, how did cash flow come into the picture? Well, if you as an investor could serve as the landlord, if you could serve as the handyman, if you could serve as the renovation person, heck, if you could serve as the real estate agent to begin with to find it, that's how you forced cash flow into a deal. You found it without having to pay any type of real estate fee, so maybe you could get the house a little cheaper. You could do the work yourself, so therefore you didn't have to pay the upcharge for somebody else to do it for you. Perhaps you could manage that property, so therefore you could place the resident, don't have to pay a fee for that. You could collect the rent each month, don't have to pay somebody to do that for you. This is a very active process. And to spend all that time in real estate, you should be forcing a cash flow. You should be getting a great cash flow. But here's the rub. The more of that we give up and we hire other people to do for us. So we hire somebody to find the property for us. We hire somebody to renovate the property for us. We hire somebody to manage the property for us. In each of those steps, we are buying a property that's slightly more expensive. Now we're paying somebody to handle the renovation, so that drives the price up that we pay. Now we pay somebody to manage that asset for us, so we have to pay them to do that process. All of this is what, in essence, takes away the cash flow. But what's the underlying investment? A property that you can put anywhere from 20, and some investors put as much as 50% down on a property in order to gain access, in order to have it. The rest of the money is borrowed from a lending institution that you pay back at an interest rate. So how much do I bring in? How much do I spend? That's what's left over is my cash flow. But the real power of real estate is I pay X with this amount of money. It goes up in value while this amount of money comes down. So I get to make money in single family real estate by owning it, having somebody else pay my monthly note for me, drive down my principal, drive up the appreciation value, now I have an asset that is worth more than I paid for it that somebody else is paying off for me. And if I can make cash flow while I'm there, fantastic. But cash flow was a factor of how much work am I willing to put in, which brings me to the final kind of the real piece of this is that, especially if you're buying turnkey, all right, a true turnkey property is going to be fixed to the absolute highest level. It's not going to have deferred maintenance. You don't want that headache and that issue. Turnkey properties usually are bought somewhere far away, further from where we are, because we live in markets where we don't want to be active. We don't want to be messing with the property. We want to use somebody else's expertise and time to manage that investment for us. So you should be buying a property at the best level. You should not sacrifice quality of management. You should want the absolute best management possible. And in the end, when you buy these properties, if they cash flow on a monthly basis in today's interest rate environment, good. But you need to make sure you're buying the best property with the best value and the best management for the return you're getting. Single family, especially as a passive investment, has always been about own the asset, let it go up in value, and pay down your principal. Actively, by handling all the processes that go involved with it, you're able to make a monthly cash flow. My advice to investors, and of course I run a turnkey company, and yes, this is a hard environment to invest in, but I'm doing the same thing. I don't actively manage any of my investments. I'm a passive investor. And what I look for first and foremost, I don't want headaches. I don't want issues every month. I want a resident in my property paying my note down for me, and I want that property to go up in value. That's it. I don't look for a monthly cash flow. I look for a long-term internal rate of return. It's worth more than I paid for it, and somebody else has paid down what I borrowed. That is the beauty of single-family real estate. That's what it's all about today as a passive investor. If you're looking for cash flow, the question you have to ask is, what am I willing to give up? Am I willing to give up quality of renovation, bring my price down? I might be able to cash flow. Am I willing to give up quality of management, pay less for the management fee? I might be able to generate a cash flow. What am I willing to give up? And if you're like me and your standards are higher as an investor and you say, I don't want to give up anything, I want the highest quality, then what you may end up giving up is a higher monthly cash flow. You may give up cash flow altogether at the beginning, but what you get in the end is an asset that goes up, a balance that goes down, and a property that stays occupied. That's what you get when you go with the highest quality. So hopefully that answers a lot of the questions today about cash flow, because cash flow is the simple difference between what I bring in and what I pay. And if I want that cash flow to grow in today's environment, I have to give something up. I have to give up quality, or I have to give up my time, one or the other, because passive turnkey investment in today's lending environment at today's prices, it's much more difficult to make cash flow than before. But it's a great time to own a great asset, because we are going to see values going up and people are wanting high quality homes. They will pay your note down. That's my advice today from Total Turnkey. Thank you for joining me. My name's Chris Clothier. Hey, if you enjoyed this video today, like it, subscribe to our channel. Make sure that you pay attention to what we're putting out. My team behind the camera is doing a phenomenal job at producing some high quality content. Hopefully you're enjoying it. Please share us and let us know what we can do to help you guys. Hey, thank you again for joining me today on Total Turnkey. Y'all take care. Bye.